Myself, Dan Formless from Hoxton FM, and Ben Bowler.
How's it
Oh,
going, Dan?
I'm good. You're still in Sofia, right?
That's it. Yeah, yeah. Before we start, I'm going to start a timer. We got the last podcast out this week, and it's about 2 hours long. So we're going to aim for an hour this week. See how we do.
A very good call.
Yes.
So yeah, about a month ago we did the first podcast. It was slightly, well, probably no one else will notice. So I won't mention the little technical things, but it looks amazing today. I
Yes.
think the
Yeah.
investment I put into the lighting in my place is
Yeah.
spot
Yeah.
on. I'm going widescreen. I'm going like got my on air in Japanese sign thanks to Javanese.
Amazing.
Got my unsorted records in that corner there. I've got a lot more records. I've made the Formless studio / pad modular, so I could rotate things anytime I want.
Next week, you got to bring in roll in some extra records in the back. And because now we're doing it, we only spent half an hour setting it up rather than about an hour and a half. The sun hasn't fully set yet, so I've actually got some light. But by the time the the hour ends, it might have set, maybe in orange darkness. But yeah, we were just saying, recorded the podcast, the first one about a month ago, when I landed in Sofia on my bike. And a lot of people have been messaging me saying, "What the hell's happening?" Because it's a month. It's a month later, and I'm still in Sofia.
Is it an "Are you alive" sort of inquiry that people are making?
Yeah, I've had some, because I've got my little satellite tracker which pings out text messages and tweets where I am. That's been deadly silent for the last month. So my family know where I've been, but a lot of other people have just wondered whether something's gone wrong or whatever the hell's happening. But it's all in the plan, I have to say.
So should we quickly recap so that people want to go back and check out the first episode?
Yes.
You are Ben Bowler, founder of QTV, entrepreneur. How is a programmer?
Yeah.
What else that you've done?
Touring cyclist, I suppose. Now that's
touring cyclist.
My job.
Cycling around the world with a parachute, which is my new way of describing you.
Yes, yeah, it's like the world with a paraglider.
So paraglider or parachute? Because an idiot like me will call it a parachute because it's just a parachute.
Yeah, the glider aspect is because it's basically a parachute. When you free fall, it has to be strong enough to open. A paraglider, if you free fall with it and you threw a paraglider out, it would just rip into shreds. But that means that it's a lot thinner, a lot wider, and it basically makes this big wing. That means you can actually glide and fly for, the cross-country world record is 500 kilometers plus flying on a paraglider. And that's, 10 hours, 12 hours of flying in the air, all taking thermals and flying that's how gliders work.
Got it. So you can catch thermals basically.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be jumping out of anything.
Yeah, you can do this thing called debagging, which sounds like some weird kind of sexual fetish, but it's where you jump off the side of a balloon or a bridge or something with the paraglider especially folded and it opens. But if you were falling at full speed and you tried to do that, it would just rip into pieces, which is not good.
So how many times have you paraglided since you left London?
I reached my 30 flights a couple of weeks ago. But that was actually when I was on holiday with my family in Spain, which is one of the reasons why I'm still here. So I've probably flown about 10, 12 times since I left London. Actually, Sofia has been really bad weather. I think I've heard the UK has just been unbelievably warm, which is what happens when you go away from a country. They get all the good weather. But in Sofia, it's been thunderstorms pretty much for the last 3 weeks or so. So the week I arrived, I went up the mountain here. I've got a YouTube video coming out shortly of that day flying. I went up the mountain. It's about an hour and a half on the bus out of town, and it's a 2,400 meter high mountain. You can see it from everywhere in the city, and there's ski lifts up there which take about half an hour bottom to top. So I can literally finish work at 5, take my paraglider from the floor there on my back, get a bus, ski lift, and I'm over 1,000 meters in the air, and then fly off. And I actually managed to fly around the ring road when I first arrived here. Did about a 20-kilometer flight, which is one of my longest so far, and then landed out by some of the film sets here on the edge of Sofia. Because one of the weird things about Sofia is that they film a lot of Hollywood films here, because there's a lot of sort of Western-looking stuff people, and the sets are quite cheap. So I ended up landing basically in the set of a Western on the edge of Sofia Ring Road, which is pretty bizarre.
So you didn't land in your backyard where you're staying?
No, well, unfortunately, I'm staying right on the flight path to the airport. So, if I which you may hear during the podcast at some point, but so yeah, if I was to land here, there's a high chance that I would either get arrested or sucked into the engine of a Ryanair or a Wizz Air 737 on the way into Sofia Airport. But
we don't want either of those for you. So you've written this amazing agenda, which will allow us to be really timely and on point. But just for anyone who hasn't watched episode 1, Ben left London on what date?
20th of May, just the day after the royal wedding. So everyone should remember that.
Didn't they have 2 babies since then? No, I'm joking. So you've cycled, say they're just the countries you cycled across.
So I cycled obviously from the UK, crossing into France, then through Belgium, Germany, Austria, over to Slovenia, Croatia, and then into Serbia, which was my leaving the EU moment for the first time, and back into Sofia, back into Bulgaria. So about 10 countries overall so far, but Europe is very close together. That was all in 21 days cycling, just shy of 3,000 kilometers there. Yeah, and it feels such a long time ago, I have to say. I'm actually really, really looking forward to getting back on the bike.
Great. So you're itching to get away, but you have had this little holiday. You've had some time with your family, which I think really makes sense. It's quite funny because you've kind of gone to Bulgaria and then you've flown over to, where was it? Canary Islands?
No, it was Menorca, actually. Yeah.
One of the islands.
Yeah, one of the islands. I mean, it's brilliant, actually. One of the things I'm kind of, I'm not worried is the wrong word, but just sort of feeling a bit emotional about on this trip is the fact that I'm not going to get to see a lot of my family for the next 12 months, really, especially once I get out of Europe. So when I planned this trip, I promised that I'd take my mum on holiday. Me and my sister have done it last year as well, and we're trying to make a tradition of it. So yeah, I arrived here about a month ago, stayed here for a week, started working, and then I immediately jumped on a plane out of Sofia to Menorca and met my mum and my sister and my sister's boyfriend. We spent 2 weeks out there on the beach, and it's great to kind of spend time with the family, because you can get the old FaceTime out, but it's not quite the same. So especially when it comes down to my birthday in October and Christmas, it's going to be a weird thing to be in India for Christmas, for example. When everyone's at home having turkey, I'll be in some really foreign place. So yeah, so it was a good way to kind of connect with the family before I get into real extreme adventure time. And I obviously got some extra paragliding while I was in there as well. So there's one really big hill in the center of the island, and there's a ancient monastery on the top. So you can just literally drive. Got the rental car, so drive up there. There's a few small little launches on the side. I did a really interesting 360 Instagram photo, which got quite a lot of likes. If you follow that, you might have seen it. And you can step off the side of the hill, and you're instantly soaring 500 meters above this old monastery. I'm sure the nuns inside are probably a little bit perturbed by people just flying over, getting a look inside. But yeah, that was a good little sidetrack. But I didn't do too much flying because I wanted to spend time with the family.
But it's so cool. You're basically cycling around the world. You're paragliding whenever you want. You're choosing your route. You've kind of got a rough idea, but you can kind of adjust it. You're studying a degree.
Yes, yeah.
In what, with who?
Economics with development. The title is ridiculous. It's Bachelor's of Science in Development with Economics from the University of London International Programs, co-taught by the London School of Economics. So
just say LSE. Just say LSE.
Yeah, LSE.
Trust me.
I've got to make the most out of it, out of that long name. Yeah.
No, that's super cool. And like the reason you're cycling around the world is because your dad gave you a bike that was called a World Tourer.
It's called the World Tour, yeah, Dawes World Tour. It's sitting right here next to me.
And he gave you that at what age?
About 16, 17. Yeah, and it re-inspired me. that's the point of your life, I think, anyway, for me anyway, where I really decided, I really was just dreaming, really, because I think for me anyway, life was quite shit when I was like 15, 16, 17, just like complete nerd in school, and just wanting to be anywhere else but there. So I think I spent a lot of time dreaming about various things, about running companies, listening to tech podcasts from startup founders talking about their exits, chatting to I got a signed copy of Entrepreneur magazine from the founder of FreshBooks for like chatting to him on Twitter or something random. I found out the other week. And then my other dreams were about cycling around the world on this bike. I actually got this book, which I dug out a while ago, which looks like it's from the 70s.
Adventure Cycle Touring Handbook.
Yeah. And it's just the best thing about it, really. The advice is okay, but the best thing about it are just these unbelievable pictures it has on the inside, and that's really what inspired me to kind of get out and see.
I'm conscious that some people might be listening to this as an audio podcast.
Oh, yes.
So, what is the name of the author?
It's Stephen Lord, Adventure Cycle Touring Handbook, Worldwide Cycling Routes and Planning Guides. It's a trailblazer book. And
actually, just as a small aside, the Hoxton FM audio streaming is currently down because the providers of the server decided they don't want to provide me with a server anymore. And the good news is I found a new one. It's much higher quality audio, and I'm going to load up the best of 6 years of Hoxton FM's broadcasts that will play on rotation. And I'll put all of these podcasts up.
Oh, brilliant.
All of these been around the world. So I was thinking to maybe have them, if I can schedule it, I'm not sure if I can with this one, I'd either have them all consecutively after each other or the same time every day.
That'd be good. Yeah. What's the premier talk time, really? Do you want that? That's the sort of return commute time, maybe, or breakfast, maybe? If I got a mic like yours, then it could be a good breakfast.
Everything's changing. I mean, you're using an Insta360 one.
Yes.
I've got one as well. I'm telling you, don't worry so much about the mic quality. Obviously, I've got a great mic here and a wonderful sound card. Thank you very much to Prism Sound.
Yeah.
But we both had one of those, and we were walking around. I think a 360 podcast would be good, and it would limit us to this hour that we're trying to do because they only have 70-minute battery life.
Yeah, although I'm using it to film my paragliding videos, which is what it's really like. It's really perfect for it. So I've actually bought an external battery, which I've got stuck on. I look like a Teletubby as it is with a 360 camera on the top, and then there's a big battery stuck on it as well. But yeah, I
want all the extra things that you've got as well. You've got a waterproof thing.
The waterproof case, although waterproof case cost me 60 quid for a piece of plastic. As soon as I bought it, I chucked it like towards my bag or something, and it missed and immediately cracked all down the shutter bit of the plastic. So I haven't actually filmed using it, but I feel like it might have a big blur.
I think you need to send that back.
Yeah.
You bought that through Amazon, didn't you?
Oh, I weren't available through Amazon, so I bought it through some weird dodgy website from like.
Doesn't that always happen when you get something that should be reliable through a weird dodgy website? It becomes unreliable. It's
too true.
Anyway, I'm skipping around your brilliant agenda. Cool. So we want to. You went on your family holiday. You've put here losing my wallet at 1,500 feet.
So that was one of the downsides of flying. I spent a lot of time in the family, and there was not that many weather windows to fly, but I've made friends with a local kind of tandem paragliding instructor there. So I went up to kind of meet him on one of the last days while I was there, and went flying. Flew for about an hour. Really brilliant weather. Great thermals. I was up really high, like I say, 1,500 feet or so above this monastery. And I'm still quite new in this whole paragliding thing, so I haven't done any really big cross country trips. Once you get to a certain level, you can fly for tens, if not hundreds of kilometers and go places with it. But I'm still a bit kind of sticking to the hill and just getting my bearings really. So I did an hour's flight. My friend landed at the bottom, so I went down to meet him, to chat and catch up. And I was just going to go try another flying site and then go home. But I was chatting to him, and he was saying, it's such great weather, you should try and fly back to the apartment, which has been my dream, to fly back to the beach and land on the beach where my family are. And then I'd have to try and figure out how to get the car. But
James Bond. That's so James Bond, though.
Yeah. So inspired by him, I went back up for another flight, but I've got these little sort of hiking shorts with zip pockets, and I'd given my business card to one of his students because I got some videos for them. So normally I put my wallet in some other bag, but this time I obviously didn't zip my pockets up. So I launched straight away, was flying up, shot behind the hill to try and get to the beach. Long story short, I didn't make it. I made it about 10 kilometers towards the town and landed in a field. But when I got back up to the car, I noticed that I had that sinking feeling of just like something's wrong. And a few times while I've been flying, I've had my phone in one pocket and I've seen it gradually coming out about, like 1,000 feet, and the phone's gradually coming out. So I knew immediately what happened, and we went and searched for a few places for it, but it was nowhere to be found. So somewhere on the remote hillside in Menorca, there is my wallet with my driving license and my student card and all that kind of stuff. Luckily, I've got my mum is my HQ back in the UK, so she's sent me all of my replacement cars and things like that. But they're currently going overland, so she said got back from holiday, and they've been through as many countries as me. They're currently in Hungary, so hopefully this week I'll get my cars back. But yeah,
it's funny when you expect something to come like immediately. My dad lives out in the Philippines, and we had to send him his Parkinson's medication. So it's like
it's quite an important package
a repeat prescription. Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, the more important thing is that it's all divvied up into these what are they called? Blister packs, they call them.
Yeah.
It's basically like an advent calendar.
Yeah.
And it means he doesn't forget what he's already had and stuff like that. So we've sent them like a month ago. They haven't arrived.
Really?
There's loads of storms out in Asia.
So airmail's not getting through, is it?
Like, I know one lady out there, she's literally on a different island and she can't get back to her kids.
Oh my God.
For like weeks.
Wow.
None of the boats are running, and when they do run, they've got like important people and stuff they need to get, so it's really hard to get tickets. So it's just these things that rainy season out there, you take for granted. I know that it's 41 degrees in Tokyo right now.
Wow.
And they're saying, when they do the 2020 Olympics, they're going to have certain things in place to help keep it cooler for they say the athletes are fit enough to handle this, but for the spectators, we're going to have a few things like industrial mist sprays and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But I was just thinking the way you were phrasing going back up to do that second jump. Did you feel this tight was there a moment where you felt a little bit of animosity towards the person for suggesting it? Like, oh, this shit happened because you suggested it?
Oh no. Because especially at the time, I was just like really excited to do it, because my biggest dream actually really is at home. There's the flying site that I was a member of is basically in the Luton flight path, and on a good day you can basically fly northeast out into Norfolk, and my mum lives in a little village just on the edge of Norwich, and my dream is to fly out there and land, like literally call, because you can still get phone signal in the air, so you call my mum up while I'm at a few thousand feet and say, "Mum, come outside, come and land in the field."
Bring my tea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so I was really excited to do it. I was just a bit, I've now added it to my little pre-flight checklist. Zip up pockets, an important one.
No, that's great. I mean, it's more important, obviously, not to plunge to your death. So I'm sure there were many other things that were more important. You lose your phone. So let's go through this. What's the worst thing you could lose from your pockets? What would have been the worst thing you could have lost from your pockets?
I mean, the phone would have been a pain, but I could probably have tried the old Find My iPhone. If it didn't smash on some rock, I could probably have tracked it down to the side of the hill.
That's true. You could have a little responder in your wallet or something.
Yeah, I should get those little tile things.
I want to get one for my baggage, because as I travel with more baggage more frequently, you kind of I got this Rimowa bag to carry my records and important stuff, and it's a massive I have business expense and everything, but massive indulgence for my birthday. And I've managed to take it as hand luggage every single journey except for one when they took it. Yeah. I tried to kind of, put up a fight and stuff. Many times they've put the tag on the bag, and then I've walked along and just ripped it off when they're not looking. But
nice. You need to. They never look at it if it's on your back, so you should have some way of like.
This thing is too big to put on my back, man.
Okay.
It's but
they force check stuff now, don't they, with budget airlines all the time.
I literally came back from Amsterdam yesterday. and they said that every single bag was going to get put in the hold, and then everyone ignored them. Just walked on. It was so bizarre, so bizarre. But anyway, so we've done the wallet.
I mean, so basically the other reason why I've not left Sofia is because I've been working hard, basically. So always my plan, really, like you mentioned earlier, I'm not just cycling, I'm flying and working and doing all this stuff. Like, really, the trip is a super kind of lifestyle adjustment, really. It's not like a set trip in a way. It's more like I'm living like this now for at least the next 2 years. So part of that is working. So I've got a couple of little projects in companies that I'm kind of helping to run, or have founded with friends, which I will be able to talk about in future podcasts, which is quite exciting. And I've just been in a crazy work mode working on those. And I've also got some contract work. Before this, I was working for Universal Music, one of the biggest record label in the world, technically. And off the back of that, I managed to get some contract work, which is I'm basically building websites for huge pop stars, which is like the weirdest job ever, because I kind of get quite excited about it. But if you mention it to people, I mean, like, the artist doesn't know who you are. You're so far separated from the actual creative process. It's so weird. But I like to think of myself now as the website builder to the stars. That's what I'm going to put as my Twitter bio from now on.
I think the other thing is all these things you say, like you work for Universal, you say it's the biggest record company in the world. That's all you need to say to people.
Yeah.
I'm very like you in that you want to give people the real, like, rundown, the real detail, that it's not, it's not glamorous, but everyone's going to put that gloss on it. You're going to put that gloss on it. So you just let them have that gloss. You just give it to them nice and simple, because you know what they're going to tell other people. Ben, he founded Chew. He worked for Universal, biggest record company in the world. All these things. It's just these sound bites and this gloss, and like, real people know that what you're doing is not all fun and games.
No one sees the 10 hours a day coding on
this is the thing. This is the
Sarah
thing.
Brightman website.
I really like when you share that. It's really interesting to me, but I think it has to be after, like, you have to have this kind of just the summary stuff. And if someone asks you questions like myself, then you give that a little bit of in-depth. You say, well, actually, I never meet the artist, or that sort of thing. But let people give it the gloss, man. Like,
nice. This is good. This is the Dan's media training.
Well, I mean, this is the other thing, is everyone's like, oh, I wish I could do what Ben's doing. And it's like, well, this has been, well, a number of these things have been dreams of Ben's, and you're talking about other dreams, extra dreams. To be honest, it sounds like, in 2-3 years time, when you finish this, will you have created new dreams, or will you be out of dreams?
I can never be out of dreams. You're
adding to the list, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have lists? Do you make lists? Do you...
Oh god, yeah. I mean, I've got lists. I've got spider diagrams. I've got like a monthly life planning session thing that I do as well, where I just write down how the month has gone compared to kind of what I wanted it to be. And it's interesting because I never really quite make what I want to happen, but I think what I want to happen happens.
You get a lot closer because you have these plans and these things.
Yeah. Because if I didn't have any plans, I'd just wander around. I mean, I've done that for periods of my life where I've just wandered around stuff and never quite moved in any one direction. Now, a lot of things, I think by doing this trip, it kind of has focused me a lot on every other aspect of my life as well. In that, yes, the adventure kind of cycle thing I'm really doing, and you kind of have to do it, because even if you're sick of it, you still have to find somewhere to sleep and somewhere to be next month. Like, you're kind of forced to do that. And it's generally more good and exciting than it is annoying, I have to say. Like, it is a really lucky place to be. But in terms of work,
managing your expectations is so key as well, because I think people can make themselves depressed by having unrealistic expectations, over glossing everyone else's lives in their own eyes.
Oh yeah, that's the biggest one, I think. I mean, I stopped. I think we might have talked about this last time. I've stopped looking at Facebook and Instagram as a consumer for the last couple of years, and I'm now I'm now pumping out Instagram photos of myself, but I find it so, even though I know objectively that I'm living my dream in a lot of contexts. Like I'd have had an amazing day traveling. I would have flown in the sky like I've always dreamed in my paraglider, landed, and I'll open Instagram and there's always someone that because I get suggested now bike touring people and paragliding people. There's always someone who's just won the world championship paragliding or finished some big trip, and there's someone that's just finished like their 7th year of cycling around the world, you know? So like there's even at whatever level you get, there's always people that are going to make you feel depressed about what you're doing.
It's the Strava effect.
Do it, man. Yeah,
it's
just
the Strava effect.
Yourself.
So I'm segueing onto something I want to talk about. So I've finally run a lot further than I ever ran before. So I ran 20k before I went off to Amsterdam, and then while I was there, I ran.
Still shy of a half marathon though.
I ran 21k. That's okay. Half marathon, right?
21.6 or something. Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Still, right. It's not good enough.
No, I ran 21 whilst I was out there, and it was like
nice,
5 laps around Vondel Park, little park.
Nice.
Yeah, it was nice. It's like I was trying to just do it in, this 180 BPM rule. Have you heard this? Doctor's got this theory that you take 180 BPM, you subtract your age. So in my case, I subtract 40, and if you're not injured or anything else, then keep it at that. That is your optimum training beat per minute heart rate.
Like paces per minute. Oh, well, heart rate. Interesting.
Yeah. So I ran a lot slower the second time that I did 20k plus, because I was trying to stay at 140. And I have to say at the end of it, I was like, I could
feel better after that.
I just felt I could do that again. Like, my calves felt stiff, but not as stiff as the first time.
Yeah.
But I was thinking I could do a marathon. Like
I was going to say, when is your next marathon, mate? It has to be done.
It doesn't motivate me to want to do one though, because I'm like, why do I want to do a marathon? This is the Strava effect, right?
But the thing with the marathon is that I never really. People are surprised to hear, like Neil. I was chatting to my host here, Neil. He's a solid runner, and he's surprised to hear that I only picked up running a couple of years ago, when I actually set a goal for the year to do a marathon. And I just thought, I don't really see the reason. It's just a pointless kind of exercise. But then when the week before I went to the London Marathon as a punter, and the atmosphere is just awesome. And then the next week I ran the Belfast Marathon, which was my first one, and there's just something kind of really emotional about running with thousands of other people, and people coming to cheer that on, because you see people cheering on a lot of kind of bullshit in life, but to cheer on that kind of just physical achievement, and if it's people running it in 6 hours or running it in 2 hours 7 minutes, like every level, people are there to cheer those people on, and it's an engrossing thing to do. And like I think you should really just book one and just do the training program, and I think it will be a real experience.
I'm not so sure. Like I can't think of anything worse than running with a whole load of other people. If I do it, I'm doing it in sub 4 hours. Yeah. And if I don't, it's a complete, anyone who does it less than 4 hours, you're a loser. Seriously. Like, I ran so slow.
If you got like one leg or something. Actually, to be honest, a
one-legged loser, still a loser. No, I'm joking.
Yeah. To be honest, the most amazing part of the London Marathon was I was watching a blind runners, which are unbelievable, because they have the guide runner with them, and they're this is the professional Paralympic runners as well. So they're literally, they're caning the 2 hour whatever minute marathon with a guide, like basically just like attached to their arm, just like giving them little hints, I suppose, of where to go, just by the feel of where their wrists are.
Yeah, no doubt. That is nuts. Amazing. And
yeah,
I'm being a bit facetious in criticizing marathons, and I think I actually enjoy the solitude of running.
The thing is, I'm the same. Like I really struggle to cycle as well, which is with other people, which I've hit a few times this trip where someone will be really friendly and they'll come up and cycle next to me, and they'll be like, I had this coming towards Stuttgart somewhere, and an older gentleman came and cycled next to me and got really excited about the trip, and I had 100 kilometers left to go for the rest of the day, and he was like, I'll cycle with you. I was like, really? It's 100 kilometers. I'm going to take about 10 hours to cycle that. And he was like, yeah. And I think, and he just kept getting annoyed at my speed at the end of the time. But actually, I've sort of developed this way of now dealing with it, because I don't want to be rude and say like, actually, no, fuck off. But at the same time, I kind of want to cycle at my own pace. And if people are with me, it's kind of like we'll meet at the next town, right? And we'll just drift in and out of our own speed, and then
that's great. That's great. So what's your line? What did you say to that guy, or what would you say to the next guy?
That guy, he just got annoyed because I stopped for water, went in with my bottles to the cafe, said hi, you know, and then a few minutes down the road, I stopped at a supermarket, and then I got to a hill, and the next time I looked around, he was gone. But
what an asshole! What an asshole!
Yeah. But in terms of the running, it's like, yeah, I'm totally the same. I really like to get in my own zone, do my own pace. But I tell you, like, I think, I don't know. I think it's, yeah, I think you might like it. I don't know.
I'll do one. I'll do one.
To
be honest,
challenge for you.
I can cycle. I'm a good cyclist. I can run now. I'm kind of working my technique out.
Yeah.
I am shit at swimming.
What is this, your triathlon thing now? You're going to go for sure.
Well, the real thing, that would be the real pushing. See, we talked about this comfort zones, yeah?
Yeah.
I would say you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone in all the things you're doing. You might start to say to me, well, it's not actually that out of my comfort zone, or the things you think is out of my comfort zone it's not what's really out of my comfort zone. I know running is in my comfort zone. Yes. Cycling is in my comfort zone. I hate swimming. I hate deep water. I hate not being able to put my feet down. I'm a poor swimmer. I was a skinny little shit when I was a kid.
Yeah. I agree entirely.
Trauma being taught how to swim by my dad.
Oh, no. You didn't get chucked in, did you?
No, he did the thing of setting an impossible task. So I just managed to swim the breadth of an Olympic-sized swimming pool, not the length, the breadth.
Yeah.
In the shallow end, so it's safe and everything. I just managed to do that. And my one of my brothers is, as a child, he was more buoyant than myself. Let's put it that way. He was happily doggy paddling, like, you know, back and forth. 2 years younger, nearly 3 years younger. My dad said, okay, so if you can do 10 lengths of this Olympic swimming pool, I'll give you £5. No, if you do 5 lengths, I'll give you £5. If you do 10 lengths, I'll give you £10. If you do 50 lengths, I'll give you £50. So he just set this kind of very impossible task, which did traumatize me. And
yeah, I could imagine.
I cried a lot. I remember crying a lot. I was like 5 or 4 or 5. But I remember now, or like, I look back now and I realized that all the impossible things that I've been able to do that other people would say you can't do is because of that. So it's not like
okay. So you've taken a good thing, but there's also a swimming trauma about it.
You've got to process it. You've got to,
yeah.
You know, I swam in the sea near my dad's. It's amazing diving and snorkeling around there. And my cousin who grew up there, he was there, and he was taking the piss out of me because he didn't know I had this like thing. He's taking the piss out of me, saying, "Don't put your feet down because you might tread on a sea urchin." And I had like a mini panic attack, and he had to swim over to me, and he had the big what are they called? The flippers.
Oh yes, yeah.
And so he had to come and stand near me, and so I could stand on his flippers. It's
can you see the bottom there? Can you see the flippers?
Yeah, you can, but like
because for me that's almost worse. I really hate if there's anything with a chain coming down, like a big sea buoy or whatever. It's really like I don't know what it is about that, but yeah, we were doing some swimming on holiday. Actually, my sister's a triathlete and her partner as well, so we were doing some open water swimming out by these big buoys, but for some reason I just don't like the things underwater. And I think if I saw a living animal, like a big fish or something, I would really crap myself. But I think for me, it's more exposure than anything. I haven't seen enough of that.
I'm not worried about the inhabitants of the sea. I'm worried about drowning.
Right. Yeah.
And it was funny because like I decided after a certain point, I was like, I really realized I was being a real pussy about it. So when we'd gone out and we were like kind of looking at fish and stuff, and I was like, look, okay, I've had enough. I'm going to swim back in. And I just realized how poor a swimmer I was. I just put my head down and swam, you know, and then looked up and realized I'd literally gone nowhere. And so yeah, I think that's the area I want to
work on that. You can work on that triathlon for a while, but marathon first, I'd say.
Marathon, triathlon, death.
Yeah, sounds about right. Sounds good quality.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's nice to be able to say you can do these things, I guess. But weren't you were planning to do marathon or marathons, or how many have you done already?
I've only done 2 marathons because
just the two.
Just the 2, yeah. Well, like I say, I only really took up my running for about 18 months ago. I've always been a cyclist, and I always had knee issues with running, but those have all dropped away just with consistent gradual training. Like I actually found, even though I cycled a lot, I found the couch to 5K really hard after the second to third week. I was just constantly out of breath, like, and aching in like the arm muscles and things like that as well. So I really struggled. But now,
But was that? This is what I was thinking. It's like when I was trying to swim that time, I was
yeah,
panicking and then I was breathing too fast, and then
yeah,
everything
yeah,
went downhill.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
the first few weeks of running, the first run was awful. The next one much less bad, and I like literally took like a minute off per kilometer
yeah.
after a couple of runs. But only recently did I realize that the way that I was breathing was like a rally between two female tennis players. It
Yeah.
was just like horrendous the way I was breathing. And as soon as I like calmed when I was doing this long run, calmed down, I was just focused on. I didn't use any energy. Like the way you breathe and the
There's
way you do
definitely a
these things.
pace you can get to that with running. Yeah, you get into that zone, don't you? Of once you've had enough, a certain level of training, if you're not caning it, you can really keep going for a while. Like I'm really keen on the sort of adventure races. For some reason, I'm really keen to do the Pyongyang marathon in North Korea. Because it's one of the few kind of ways you can get in to see that country. The only kind of
Ah,
reason why I'm a little against it is because you have to give about $5,000 to the North Korean government, which is not a very ethical thing to do. But you get to end in a stadium of 60,000 cheering fans.
or so they say. This is the
Yeah, yeah.
thing. Does it
Well,
really
I
happen?
mean, they're probably forced to do it, but
They're all school
um,
children. They're given a day off school.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I would quite like to do it along the way. I mean, I'm running a lot while I'm here. Me and my host Neil went for an amazing run on the Tosha, the mountain here. We ran up to the peak on Saturday, and it's 2,000. We didn't go for the bottom, but it was we went for the top of the ski lift. But it was up to 2,400 meters. There's a radar base up there. There's some old military buildings that we sort of explored and ran down. It's like incredibly technical, like trail running. But I just love that, man. It's like
That's way better for you than just normal running, like the
yeah. I
workout and
mean,
stuff. And people
yeah,
don't really take in, how much what's it called? Ascent? No, ascent. Yeah.
yes, yeah.
How much you ascend is really like way more important than your time or your distance.
It's definitely good for training, yeah, because it's hard work. It's hard work. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure your knee issues didn't come up because of technique. Were you
Then,
running the right
oh yeah,
stride, not
maybe.
landing on your heel and stuff, or?
I haven't really. I didn't. That may have been the reason why. To be honest, I've actually one of the things that I'm doing on my YouTube channel, which I'm launching properly in the next couple of weeks, is reviewing books as I cycle. Because one of the great things about cycle touring is I get a lot of time to read. Because when I'm sitting there waiting for the water to boil or having my lunchtime break when it's 40 degrees in the sun, I read a lot. So one of the books I read recently was Born to Run. Have you come across Born to Run before?
It rings a bell, but I don't, like, tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean, the full review will be up on YouTube in the coming weeks.
So
But
what's that
it's
going to be? Ben Bowler, on YouTube, or have
yeah, I
you?
mean, benbowler.com, and there's a big link at the top. And if you subscribe, that'd be great because I want to get to 100 subscribers. That's my first goal. If
I
I get
can
to
add
100
some sort of
subscribers,
subscribe button, can't I? You can like kind of go,
yeah.
just click on this bit, and
Oh yes, yeah. Click to subscribe.
I've
Exactly.
been doing
Yeah,
serious
click to
YouTube
subscribe.
research, man. I don't just
Yeah,
watch PewDiePie with the most
yeah.
views. Like, there's some good guys that do stuff. There's one guy, he's got like 1.7 million followers. He does like car reviews. He's one of those like
Nice.
Californian rich kids, but
Well, that's the
pretend.
thing about you, like what making YouTube videos. That it's the amount of people I've followed that do it in very specific things. So I've been following a guy called Serpent ZA who blogs a lot about China and experience living in China. There's Jeff Marshall who basically just makes videos about London Underground trains. I watch what these guys do, and there's not a great deal to their videos. Like they're just really passionate about one particular thing. So that really inspires me to just to share what I'm doing in little bite-sized chunks. And I've been filming little how I feel as I go along. So
That's
I suppose
great.
it's for everyone on YouTube to kind of judge whether it's things that people are interested in.
Don't care about them. Focus on your content. Obviously, you need to get it out there, and that's the real key. Like, you know, you're not active on social media, so it's really about recruiting other people. But you know, I find so many of the people that I follow really abhorrent as actual people, or the way that they like smash that like button and subscribe here and hit the bell. And
I'm not doing much of that. I mean, I am posting stuff on social media. I'm just pushing it one way out to everyone.
I think do it with humor, and it's fine. But I should shout out this guy. Vehicle Virgins is what his brand is called, and he's called. My name's, every time he does the same intro. My name's Tyler Narenstein, and this is Vehicle Virgins. Don't forget to smash that like button. All this bullshit.
No.
But the thing is he, as you kind of say, he is really, really into cars. He really knows it.
Yeah.
He came over from America to Goodwood. He got to ride in all these cars and stuff. But he basically, you notice how some people kind of use him. So there's a guy with a Bugatti Veyron who says, you can do a review of my Bugatti Veyron if you tell everyone to like my if I hit 25,000 extra likes, then and so he's saying that with the guy in the shot, and you're just like, you might as well just bend over right now and like just say I'm a whore. It's all these things that are abhorrent, but these guys are kind of I'm trying to learn what they do, how they do it, and
it's like totally it's kind of it's all the kind of vlogger thing is just what it is. You know what I mean? Like there's no I mean, there are people that are trying to kind of hide stuff, but generally, like, you know, there's all those collaborations where there's one YouTuber with another, and they'll just like film what the arrangement is, because, you know, on TV that would be really well hidden and you'd have a sponsored by blah 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 in the corner. But I mean on YouTube it doesn't really matter. Like, people know what's going on. The audience kind of knows what's going on. I think that's a big thing about brands in general now. Like, people know that you're trying to bullshit them without, like, if you're trying to be clever and you're trying to just drop a little can of Fanta in the background, people will notice that shit straight away. So part of that
I don't know what you're talking about. Tiger Beer, it's all right. I would much rather be sponsored by, this is the thing, we've talked about this, is I'd rather endorse brands that I have or use or believe in, like the Insta360 one, I mean, actually Prism Sound.
Hey, don't give me. Actually, Prism Sound are a sponsor, but don't give anyone else plugs yet until they come in for a brand sponsorship later.
Well, I'm kind of happy to endorse things that I really believe in and give them a shout out. What I'm saying is we should be then, you know, sending them the links and saying, look, if you, I mean, they're going to say, oh, if you haven't got 1 million views, then we're not interested. It's a chicken and egg, but let's.
So speaking of one of the things that I want to make a YouTube video about, but might be a bit too silly, is about waffles, which is this random thing that is really popular here in Bulgaria, and I love it. So do you know the Chicken Connoisseur, right? That's a YouTube
That's
channel.
That guy who looks like a kid, right?
Yes.
He looks like a school. He looks like a school kid. He looks 14, and he's really like 23 or something.
Yeah.
And he was going around chicken shops around London and giving them a like rating, and he was using words like peng. I didn't even know what peng meant before he started using it.
Exactly. But so I found a version of that in Bulgaria, and it's called like waffle reviews or something, because they've got hundreds. If you go into a supermarket, they've got hundreds of these things, which are
wafers. They're not waffles. They're wafers.
They're called waffles here. They're wafers. So there's literally this is a selection I bought on the way home. If you're not watching the video, if you're listening,
he's holding up 4 sets of wafers. One looks like a bounty. One looks like a. I don't know what.
If you go from the beginning, there's like, I really think I could do reviews on these, because I absolutely love these things. You start with the kind of reptile brands like Milka. That's kind of like a European reptile brand. That one tastes like chocolate. That one's got some chocolate in. You've got Nestle. That one's not got a lot of chocolate in, but it's, you know, it's doable. And about 40 Stratinki, which is about 20p for that. But then when you get into these real budget sort of weird ones, Matteo, for example, this one's cocoa flavor, which is ambitious. There's like very little actual kind of cocoa in that at all. But
it's like the old fish of the day. Was it catch of the day at McDonald's, wasn't a fish burger, it wasn't a fish fillet burger, it was catch of the day. It
Yeah,
was
it doesn't
from
have
the
to be a
sea.
fish product. Absolutely. Yeah. I did, my worst one so far was a vegan wafer with what was it called? Oh, it's killing me now. Some kind of Andean root from South America, and it tasted kind of slightly cheesy, which was pretty terrible for a waffle.
Ooh. So
Yeah.
you're going to do these reviews. Like, can I just ask you, how's your veganism going?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, everything is cheese here. Everything is cheese.
So,
Yeah.
so you're fully off the wagon.
Yeah, yeah. I was actually going to ask you that question,
Okay.
since you're more on the wagon than I am. Basically, since I've traveled, I've not tried to hold that vegan banner going, just out of real practicality. But in terms of vegetarianism, I've been doing really well, and it's like, it's so crazy to me that people would even think that you can't live a healthy vegetarian diet these days. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, it's a funny one. I mean, when I go away, I tend to feel guilty for this is the line, isn't it? Was it
Guilty for
everyone
hospitality.
hates vegans? Is that what I was saying?
All right, yeah.
Everyone hates a vegan because
In the
it's always,
hospitality sense,
well, in just a sense of like they'll tell you that they're vegan and stuff, and
right?
I'm not eating. I'm trying to eat more plants, no meat, no dairy,
Yeah,
because it's a health thing. It's if my dad had done it, I'm sure his condition, his Parkinson's disease, would probably not have manifested, or would certainly be far less bad. And I've done a lot of research on that,
wow.
and it's very, very glaring. And my dad consumes a lot of cow's milk and dairy, and he's
It becomes a
currently
weird thing
he's
as
currently
well.
he's currently in hospital with pneumonia, which we predicted would
Oh,
happen. So it's like I'm learning from him basically,
yeah,
but in that sense, it means I don't have to be on some high horse about it. I'm not telling anyone else they shouldn't. I'm just, if someone asks me, I'll tell them. But I feel a bit bad if I'm like with someone and they're like, "Oh, we have to go somewhere where it's vegetarian." I'm like, "No, I can order
yeah.
sides
There's
or."
always something to get right. Yeah, yeah,
But I was out in Amsterdam and I did end up having sushi when I was out there, and I had mussels, had a load of mussels. And actually, seafood is where I tend to deviate, but I really try and not have any dairy. I think if you're going to
yeah,
give something up, I think you'd probably be all right with like a bit of meat or a fair amount of meat. But to me, it's the dairy. Now I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
eat it. If I do eat it, slows me down for a day or two. It's just
Yeah, it's also, I think, the weird, like milk, particularly for me, where once I stopped drinking it, I just realized what a strange thing it is, and like how unimportant it is really in the general scheme of things.
But
So
you
yeah,
did teach me, like there are going to be things that have trace amounts of dairy, and it's like if you're
yeah,
going to be like that, fastidious about it, it does make your life hell. And like it's
yeah.
just
For
this thing
me,
of like balance.
yeah, exactly. And for me, I do have sort of ethical background reasons for being vegan and vegetarian, but a lot of it for me is, environmental and sustainability reasons. And I think if you're talking about that as a main motivation, which I think a lot of people in the wider, the new bulging vegan trend, because I mean, even here I see go vegan graffiti, and so it's the revolution has reached Bulgaria. I think most people are in it for the health, really, and maybe the environment, maybe the ethical side on the top. But if you're going in it for that reason, then like, yeah, to look at the back of everything for like 0.05% milk dust that they use to stop it sticking together. I mean, you're already having such an amazing big effect by taking out 99.9% of dairy from your diet. And so like maybe that small percentage wouldn't necessarily make as much of a difference. Obviously, yeah, there's different angles to it, but that's always been mine. I'm much more in your camp of kind of practical based veganism, really.
Yeah, and it's that thing of people hate someone on their high horse. So it's
Yeah,
like, I'm drinking a beer, like that's probably not healthy for me. Or
yeah,
I've realized how much sugar I consume still.
yeah,
And I'm really, really cutting that down. And it's what's weird is when you do cut these things down, you realize how sensitive you become and how amazing the human body is at dealing with it.
yeah,
But at some point, your body will talk to you.
yeah,
And, if it's like, was it the doctors? They always say, drink plenty of water, get more sleep, try to cut certain things out of your diet or reduce them. and like if you do that for 3 to 6 months, you'll notice a massive difference.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, actually, I'm like really, I'm really, I'm slightly buzzing at the moment because I'm gradually. It's interesting talking about drinking because I've actually stopped drinking quite a lot, pretty much for this trip, because it just really makes me feel kind of sick when I've been so active for so long, and I don't really drink while I'm out on the bike. Literally, when I have a beer now, I just feel really sick. And the same thing, I've been trying to manage just like anxiety generally around work. And so a couple of years ago, I stopped drinking caffeine as well. But because I've been working so hard on all these crazy projects, doing 7 or 8 hour days, I've got a cold and been out in the rain and everything in the storm. So to get through the work today, I took some paracetamol plus, which
with caffeine.
I forgot I had caffeine in. So literally today I've been absolutely buzzing. It's so strange because I haven't had caffeine for a while, but I'm riding it because I know that generally what happens with me and caffeine is after a certain time, I get the real anxiety come in. So I can feel now that I'm probably going to, after this, I'll probably be really anxious for the rest of the evening. But like, it's amazing how, because I'm sure if you drink 2 coffees a day and you have a paracetamol plus, it's just nothing. But for me, I have really avoided caffeine for at least the last 2 years. And now I've had 2 of these tablets with however many milligrams of caffeine in. So I've been in the weirdest, it literally feels like I'm slightly high, coding away in this total
Have you been
trance.
more productive is the real question.
Well, I've got a lot done, but I know that tomorrow I'm just going to be completely, the thing that I've realized, I think anyway, and I'm not sure if what the scientific grounding is, but for me, I don't feel like there's a free ride. So I found there's no free ride for me. So if I drink a lot of coffee in the morning, I may be more productive for the next 2 hours, but that afternoon I will literally not be able to open my eyes. And then in the evening I'll be anxious, and then I won't sleep. And then the next day I'll be more tired. Right. And the same thing happens with drinking. Like, I'll have like a better first few hours while I'm like getting tipsy and drunk in the evening, but then I used to just like black out later on in the night and just lose that whole part of the evening, or the next day you basically lose the entire weekend to being hungover and being grumpy. And so what you gain in that social fluidity in the evening, you then lose because the people that you're close to on that weekend, your housemates or partner or whatever, you're a complete dick to for the rest of the weekend. So for me, I don't think there's a free ride. What you gain for that, taking that substance, you lose again in the downfall. So I'm trying to just keep it clean and consistent. I mean, it's shit sometimes because you want an escape from the place you're in, but
I think nothing is more nothing highlights that more clearly than ecstasy, I think. So I didn't get into doing that until I was like 26, 27. So I was old enough to kind of know better. I had friends who were suffering long-term depression who'd done it for a long time and were like, you don't do it every weekend. You need to let yourself have your come down. Don't go and do exercise until you've had your come down. Eat healthily, sleep well, all these things. So I was doing all these things right, but the group of friends that I was generally going out with weren't, and you watched their kind of demise. They were all pretending that they didn't feel anxious or depressed or anything at work in the week. And I got to a point where I was like, look, I'm feeling really, really down. And they were like, oh yeah, that happens. I'm like, but you never,
must be as well.
They're like, yeah, but it passes. And it's like, but literally whatever you get on the night out in the high highs, you do end up paying for. So, I mean, maybe when you're younger, this is the thing. If I'd have done it when I was 18, maybe I'd have thought.
Well, actually, again, speaking of books, there's a brilliant book called Alternate State or Altered State. I've written it down, so I'll put it in the description or the show notes. It's about rave culture and ecstasy culture, basically, and it maps the rise and fall of it. And it's a really well written book because it kind of it's written in the structure of a ecstasy trip, really, and it's about the history of it. So it's all about the rise and then the come down from ecstasy culture's rise. But it does talk about how really, your brain gets tired of these things, and you can never really replicate whatever the substance is, even if it's caffeine or alcohol or whatever. You can never replicate those first experiences on it when your brain was fresh to it, especially if it's like repeat constant use weekend in, weekend out. And also, you know, you start using more to kind of get, I mean, this is true for everything, you start using more to kind of get that same effect, but your brain has a certain capacity to process these things, and you're just changing these chemical having these chemical effects in the brain which can't continue in a linear fashion, you know.
I believe it's called chasing the dragon.
Chasing the dragon, yeah.
The heroin addiction is the first hit of heroin is always the best, and you're always chasing more and a greater thing. And speaking of all of this, how do I get onto this? Basically, I've been going to Amsterdam because you can do certain psychedelics there, and it's legal and it's kind of regulated in certain ways. So 10 years ago I tried DMT, dimethyl tetra something, which is the kind of concentrated chemical form of ayahuasca. The people call it the spirit molecule. You do it, you have an out of body experience if you break through for about 10 minutes, and as soon as you come to, or kind of you're back, you start to forget everything you experienced. It's very visual, very like colorful. If you take DMT-5, I think, I can't remember which one.
Wow.
I did
and
that
what was the genesis of this? Oh, yeah, for you, in this.
Well, I did that 10 years ago because a friend could get hold of it. It's very, very hard to get hold of it. Supposedly, you know, the guys that the other guys that founded Microsoft, they do it and stuff.
Oh my god, I watched a Vice documentary about this. It seems unbelievable.
Well, the thing is this recently I thought I want to do it again. So I managed to get hold of some and I did it, but I think I slightly did it wrong. The first thing is it is amazing. I think if everyone did it in the right controlled environment, it'd be great. I think with a lot of these things, it'd be great if you do it in a controlled environment. The trouble with a lot of these things, even, you know, ecstasy's been used in counseling, family counseling had some really great progress. The trouble is abuse of any of these things, even prescription drugs. If you abuse them, then it can be bad. It's kind of using them, and they could be like triggers or trip starts, but they're not something that you should become dependent on. 10 years on, I wanted to try DMT again. I was kind of looking for this silver bullet, this thing to kickstart my creativity again. I've said to you, I feel like with Hoxton FM, I spent 6 years putting everything into it and really kind of putting my own in creative endeavors, making music, even really DJing, like digging, like doing all the stuff around music. I've been aspiring to kind of put together documentaries and other stuff as well, and I've been putting that together in the background. But it kind of running the station was being this platform for nearly 100 different shows, all these other people running events.
Yeah. And you recently had a change, right, from physical studio literally in Hoxton to digital.
Well,
whatever.
Yeah, we don't have a permanent studio anymore. We only do stuff that I think is really pushing the envelope, that is interesting to watch or listen to, that is, you know, really doing something different, not just DJs playing music in a studio. I got bored of it. Even if everyone else didn't, they would have just seen more of it than they have.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to kickstart my own creative juices, if you will. And so I tried DMT again. I had my friend with me. I think I did it slightly wrong, so I didn't break through, as they call it. But I had this incredibly warm feeling and great kind of slight visuals and stuff. And I went somewhere, but I found it very underwhelming. The first time I'd done it 10 years ago, it was very intense. I was probably not in the right mindset to do it, but it showed me that nothing is impossible. It broke down a lot of barriers. It really made me think differently. And I was thinking, you know, one day I'll do this again, just not now.
Yeah.
With a lot of these things, I always think, well, do I have 2 or 3 days afterwards where I don't need to do anything, where I need my full mental capacities? And generally, I want my full mental capacities, so I don't do these things. After the second DMT experience recently, my friend said to me, I think you're going the wrong direction. I think you should go for something more natural.
Okay.
And he mentioned mushrooms. And so I was kind of thinking, yeah, okay, mushrooms. And I realized, you know, I can go to Amsterdam, I can do it the right way, you know, get the right advice. So I did it. I went there, and you can't buy mushrooms over the counter there. I thought you could. You can't.
Oh, interesting.
You can buy magic truffles,
Right.
which are essentially mushrooms, but they're grown, I think, for longer, or I think left for longer, they turn into truffles, and you have to consume a much larger amount of them. So
Less
you tend to
content.
take 10 grams. So I went to this shop that was recommended by someone. I bought some. I was with a girl. We got some for her as well. We went to like a park. They say you have to go to nature. Like, so you went sat in this park. A few
In
people
Amsterdam.
around. Yeah, a few people around, but not loads of people. Beautiful sunny day. We'd fasted. Basically, you're meant to have an empty stomach in case it upsets your stomach. Fasted. We took them within about 30 minutes. You start to feel the effects. For about 4 hours, if you close your eyes, you see amazing visuals. If you have your eyes open, everything seems more intense. The colors seem more intense. I was watching a dragonfly fly around this park for ages, and I felt like my eyesight was so much better. I could watch it at great distances, and I was marveling at my eyesight and the dragonfly. So, like,
did you do anything to kind of focus that on to try and focus? Because I hear a lot of it, even from the sort of Silicon Valley tech world, about like, you know, using these substances to work out how to change the world in a business context. Is there any way that you framed like what you're doing to like the trip experience to kind of to lean towards how you wanted to change and improve your creativity?
No, I think they're going. I think they're going a really. I just wanted to be again. I just wanted to like let go of everything. Just like I know that what is within me is you know, it's all there. I don't need to become something. I just need to like relax and let it all out. I think if I'm trying to solve solutions, that's not. I don't feel that's what it's for.
Yeah.
So like I've done it once. I went back and did it again, and like I did the typical guy thing. When I looked at the menu that they had, they said you should only do one of the first three if it's your first time, and I chose the strongest one of those. And the girl I was with, she had the same one, but she's tiny, so she just had half of it. So I actually had 1.5 doses of that. We both had a really great time. It's, you know, definitely recommend it to anyone. This time we went back and I said to the girl in the shop, I said, look, I've done that one, but I'll be honest, I've looked at the very strongest one that you've got, and it's called Valhalla, which is Viking heaven, Viking paradise. And I'm saying, like, I really think that I want to do that. And she said, no, look, you need to just ease your way into it. Do one up, maybe this one, and then the next time do one just below Valhalla, and then do it. She said that's the way to go. So I was like, okay, cool. So I did another one this time, and it was really nice as well, slightly different. It didn't last as long, and I think this is the chasing the dragon thing. They say you can't do magic truffles or mushrooms the next day again because your body builds up this resistance to it. It tolerates it. So you need at least 10 days, if not really a month, between each time you do it. And so I did it. She did this. The girl I was with, she did the same one as she did before, but she did like the bigger dose, the normal dose. I did this more powerful one, the normal dose, and it was great. It didn't last quite as long, but again, there's no real downside to it if you're doing it in this way. We went to a different park, completely secluded. You kind of by this river, so we saw people kind of rowing past on different boats and stuff, which is quite funny.
Safe there as well.
Totally safe, totally relaxed. The first time, the only anxiety I felt was after about 3 or 4 hours. We were lying in this park, and at one moment I thought, "Oh, are people looking at us like we're lazy people? Like that we're just lying around a park?"
That's such a funny thing to be worried about. To be lazy,
you suddenly think, "Oh, am I just some vagrant that's just kind of taking up space?" And everyone's like, "What's that person doing lying in the park?" Yet there were other people lying in the park as well, and everyone was just relaxing and enjoying the sunshine. So there is that element of anxiety and feeling that way, and that is just, I would say, enhanced awareness of certain things, and you over focus on stuff. I have bought a growing kit, and I am posting it back to myself. I was going to take it in my baggage, but I thought it was a bit stupid, really. I'm going to post it back to myself, and I'm going to grow mushrooms at home.
Interesting.
and then go and sit in nature.
Wow.
There are lots of websites where you can do a lot of research, and I would encourage anyone to do a lot of
Yeah, maybe you can
research.
send me some of those to put in the old.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. It's written on a sticker in the package that I'm sending myself. But
Interesting.
yeah, and the type of mushrooms I've bought are called Golden Teacher, which is I think a Mexican form and very nice. I think it's that's what see. I'm not trying to unlock like Silicon Valley secrets or solve business problems.
Come up with your business name.
I'm just trying to look into myself and the reason for being and what I'm doing that's blocking myself. I think, as I said, I think everything's there. It's just like, and in all honesty, as I've removed more and more people from my life, and that's from not running the studio and all these things, you find everything is much more straightforward, and the only blockage becomes you.
Interesting.
But the summary I will come to is there is no silver bullet to solve this creative blockage that I perceive to be in my life. All I need to do is get my shit in order. I probably need more lists of stuff to do, more time. I think what it is I'm quite a sensitive person to if there's something looming over me, like I need to write these reviews for the blog on Hoxton FM about um, certain performances and events I've been to, certain music I've been sent. I promise people I'll do it, and I haven't done it, and it's just looming. I can't sidetrack and go and make music until that's done. And then
Yeah.
if I do that, then something else will come along.
Yeah. So you just sometimes it's easier to do, I find, to do things for other people than to do your own things. So it's the kind of like you have to at some point just decide that you're gonna say no to those extra things at a certain point that are looming over you and kind of do what you need to do. It's so interesting that you found that that there's not necessarily a magic Valhalla mushroom that can give your creativity back. At some point you have to
Well, there is one called Valhalla, and once I've tried it, I will
yeah,
confirm
well,
that there
okay.
is no Valhalla.
That will be a follow-up. That'll be a follow-up episode.
But as I remember my dad saying, like, he said one time, he said, it's easier to fix other people than it is to fix yourself. And that was very poignant for me because I was kind of saying to him that this person I've been in a relationship with has become very frustrating because and he said, but what are you doing for you? And it's that thing, I'm just doing me right now, and I feel like you're cycling around the world and you're actually able to just do you right now, and then you alluded to slightly feeling guilty about that as if it was in some way selfish.
Well, there is a selfish element to it,
it's very important. It's like,
but it is great actually because there's very little you're away from every possible kind of judgment and pressure in a way. And so actually, like I say, it's interesting that by following this one specific dream, I've actually been able to unlock a lot of other elements of life by freeing up one thing in a way. And I've really enjoyed working in Sofia. Like the digital nomad is a very cheesy term, but I think I've really smashed it now. I've been working in Better House, which is this really funky workspace here, and the people are just awesome. Bulgarians are very, very friendly, but there's also a lot of international working people.
So that's a co-working space?
Yeah, it's a co-working space. It's based in Germany, the main one, Better House, and they've got one in Barcelona and Sofia as well. But they're really cool at doing events. So tomorrow we're there's a lot of developers and entrepreneurs and small companies based out there. So tomorrow they've chartered a yacht, and so everyone from the working space is going down to sit on this yacht and sail around and have beers, or for me, I'll have lots of sugar and get to know each other. And I've made some really good friends. Like being here for a month, I've really made so many friends. I kind of don't want to leave in a way. I could totally live here.
Now that's interesting. This is why I wouldn't. Well, I would struggle a lot more than it seems you are, because I would instantly find reasons to. I would instantly find distractions, whether it's helping other people or doing something else.
Yeah,
but I find reasons to stay longer. Whereas you kind of, this is probably the longest you're going to spend anywhere.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, if I like somewhere, I can stay longer. But I mean, the way I do it, the way I get going, is that I have that next thing already planned. So I suppose it's probably a good time to go through that over the next few months. So I've got another week and a half here. It's Wednesday today, so a week on Saturday I'm leaving Sofia. I've made such good friends that I'm going to have a little ride out crew here as well. All the cyclists that I know that I've met in the space are going to cycle with me for the first day or two.
Try and not delete that one, mate.
What's that? Yeah, I won't. It's Insta360's fault.
I'll tell you what else as well. The ride back in is going to be, you can really get, when you come back in 2 years, the ride back in is going to be way more triumphant than the ride out.
Yeah,
the ride out really means nothing. And you can really use the fact that you accidentally deleted the ride out to get everyone and say, look,
you have to
this is the homecoming. This is So anyway, sorry.
I've been dreaming about the ride back in, but to be honest, I can't even think about that right now. In fact, I was doing a talk at Better House for one of the breakfasts, saying about about what I'm up to, and I sort of calculated how long it'll actually take me if I keep going at this pace, and it was about 20 years.
I was going to say you might never come back. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think this is the beauty of what you're doing, but it's great that you're putting the next steps and everything else. But what if you find something? I just think it's really, really inspiring. And you're only how old?
27 this year. 27 in a couple of months.
Baby,
yeah.
God.
Perfect time to do it. And
I have been telling everyone you're 25, but
just about. But,
I mean, in actual fact, this is a good opportunity to say I was just hanging out with my friend Zara and her kids, and she's got twins who are, I think, of 5, and another boy who's 7 or 8. And I was telling them that I have to come back and do this podcast with you. I bought them Arabies. They'd never used an Araby before, and I told Zara off for neglecting them. But I got them each an Araby, a big Araby, a little Araby, and a boomerang Araby, which is the best kind of frisbee you can.
Are they? Oh, they're frisbees, right? I get it.
Yeah, the ones that has the distance record.
Never come
so I was explaining to a 7-year-old what you were doing.
Yeah.
And what do you think the questions he asked about it?
I don't know.
What about his birthdays?
Yeah.
What will he do? And you mentioned it earlier. He said, what about his birthdays? What about Christmas? What's he going to do then? And I said, well, he's going to celebrate them in other countries. He said, but what about his family? What about this? And that was the most important thing to him in his head. And I was like, but he's going to go on all these adventures and do all this stuff. And he said, and then he mentioned your home. And I said, he hasn't got a home. And he went, what? So he's homeless? I said, yeah, he's sold pretty much everything he owns, and he's just traveling around and he's going different places. I said, but we don't call him homeless. We say he's a nomad.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And the kid just looked at me and went, he's homeless. And it's just that thing of when you spend time with kids and they're like, because they're so much clearer thinking, less socialized and everything. Those were the important things to him. And so I think
that's where you're trying to get with your DMT experience, back to a childlike state.
Maybe, yeah. Or maybe I didn't have that greater connection with my family. I'm kind of learning that, but at the same time, it's a big letdown because life is all about the point at which you realize that your parents aren't perfect. And I think the more mature or grown up you are, is how early on you realize that. And I'm now at the point where I'm kind of starting to look after both of them and talk through with them and trying to, have that process where you get something out of it. But I'm watching this kid with, a great mum who's like unbelievably tolerant of. I would not be able to do it, like, basically. But she's so like giving them all these courses. She's taking to Russian school on a Saturday. All this stuff. It's like amazing. Like all these opportunities they're getting.
Yeah.
But the most important thing to him was where you're going to spend your birthdays and
that's a good point. It's a good point. Well, my alarm has been and gone. So,
it's been and gone. Well, how much stuff did we miss? How much stuff did we miss? Do we want to?
I reckon it's a good point. I reckon, can we have a follow-up, a DMT follow-up from you in the future?
Well, I might do DMT again, but it will probably be the
mushroom follow-up.
The roadmap for me is definitely down the psychedelic route. But I think it's more, it's all about being. I just want to be again. And I think it's detaching from all this other stuff. And I think that all of these shortcuts, these chemical shortcuts or alcohol shortcuts or food shortcuts or anything else, the high that you get is a shortcut to something, but you can achieve it without all of that. It's a longer process, and
Yeah.
you know, people say meditation or yoga and all these things, and I'm certain those all help, or exercise, running, cycling,
Yeah, exercise is good.
swimming, all these things. You know, there aren't really downsides to those unless you injure yourself. So
Yeah. Oh, well, that's interesting. I'd be quite interested to follow that, because there's obviously elements of being of that thread in the trip. You know, I get a lot of time. I've mentioned it a few times in a few blog posts about how a lot of it, I get a lot of time alone on the bike, and it's very meditative in a way. And it's I kind of live. It's really amazing to get those moments and be so lucky to get those moments for so much of your life. So we're keen to catch up on that.
but what do you do with those meditative times? So like, well, I never thought I'd get a tattoo. I got a tattoo in the Philippines, and while for the 5 hours he was doing it, shout out to that guy, he's really good. First 2 hours didn't hurt. I realized afterwards that was partly because I had adrenaline flowing through my veins, and partly because he hadn't started coloring in yet. But as the pain started to kick in, I started to meditate on, why are you doing this? Why are you getting this specific tattoo? Why is it this Japanese artist? Why is it this wave? Why is it, you know, what is it? And all these, and it's like, yeah, I'm formless. I'm like water. I flow. I feel like this big wave that is starting to really, you know, take shape and move forwards. And it's that thing of, you can daydream or you can meditate, and I think there's a process to that.
Yeah.
And taking it back to this kind of the going down the psychedelic route and stuff, you can journey through that, but I don't think it should be in, so to speak, the real world. It should be in your inner world, and get all of that kind of resolved. I think the more resolved you can be, the more you can take in external factors, or stop taking in certain external factors.
Nice.
Getting really philosophical.
That's deep. So the boring wrap up bits. Over the next month, I'm cycling through Istanbul and into Turkey from next weekend, and I'll be spending a weekend in Istanbul. So we may do a podcast then, or it might be when I get to the south coast in Oludeniz, which is a beautiful beach resort on the south coast. There's a giant paragliding spot for aerobatics, which is why I'm going to go there, spend 2 weeks there working. So we'll either do a podcast from Istanbul or from there. And then from there, I'm going on into across Turkey, which is a full month, which is why I'm spending some time working in Turkey, because I couldn't really get across the whole country in one go. And then I'll be in Armenia, Georgia, and stop after that, which I'll do down the road. I'm having to go through Georgia to avoid the no man's land between Armenia and Azerbaijan, which I only just discovered by looking at the history of those two countries. There's a lot of mines and tanks in the way between those two, which you never really hear about in the news these days. But that would be me. And then in the next 2 weeks, like I say, I'm going to start putting YouTube videos out. So get some subscription buttons somewhere to follow that. And then, yeah, we'll try and schedule the live stream potentially as well for the next one, so that we can share it ahead of time and get some live watchers. What do you reckon?
I think this is what I mean. I just think this has just been a great second episode, because we've been a bit more disciplined on the time, a little bit more disciplined on the time. We've had some notes. We've done it in a much better technical way.
Yeah.
We can do this much easier in the future. We can have guests in, can't we? We can have kind of extra people coming in if we want.
Yeah.
We could do a 360
Yeah.
on this, so that the viewers can choose what they're looking at. We don't have to be sat indoors. We got some themes. So yeah, well, I had themes, but I think that none of them. You've got ill, but you're going to be better by the time you set off, aren't you?
I've got a nice little cold, but it's weird. I get that mainly from stress rather than from the actual cycling, which has got me. So far, I've not been ill.
I've not been ill since I stopped eating meat in November. In fact, I wasn't ill before that. I've not been ill for almost a year, and I think it's mostly mental.
So, and who says you're not pushing veganism?
Well, I'm saying I think it's mostly mental. I think probably eating lots of vegetables helps, but yeah. So have you given any or got rid of any more baggage?
No change. Well, yeah.
And you obviously haven't had any punctures yet.
No punctures this week while I've been working in the office. Yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. Okay, so
That's the
no,
rapid fire round.
yeah, I'm interested to know how many punctures you get, whether you're how's your kind of physical state, whether you've got rid of any baggage, any weight, what music you've been listening to, which we didn't touch on and you did have
No.
on your list.
But we can get to that next time. I'll do a music special.
And stereotype watch. But when you're talking about Armenia and Azerbaijan and stuff, that gets me very interested because you're going to find out stuff that we don't hear in the news, as you say, and you can get like real observations on the ground. So yeah, but we're kind of getting more and more shape to this. We're going to just keep doing this whilst you travel around the world for the next 20 years. And yeah, it's always a real pleasure to talk to you. And I look forward to the next one. And if we can get it more and more regular, then great. But I think the step technically from the first one to the second one has been great. First one was a real kind of feeling out process, and it was a lot of fun. This one, better, more focused. Next one, even more so. And maybe we'll even get these down to like 30 minutes and punchy like every week or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that we need now is to work out what our catchy sign off is going to be. We need a little catchphrase that we can end with.
I watch a guy on YouTube called Tavarish, who he buys like a car and then does it up, but he never ends up finishing it. It's really funny.
Car themed YouTube, I can see. Mine's all fine themed. Yours.
He's fixing a Lamborghini at the moment, which is a big project, and like everyone's berating him for not getting it done, but he's nearly finished it. So he's like actually finally done one. But he says, remember, you need to something like to be this good, you need to wrench every day, which is so cheesy, and he loves doing it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's your podcast, really.
Should we stick with that one then?
No. Like it's got to be something to do with like
every day.
No, it's got to be something to do about your dreams. If you have dreams, you've got to jump into them or something. I don't know.
Cool. If you have your dreams, you've got to jump into them.
Oh my god, it's so cheesy.
Hit that button.
Smash that like button. Hit subscribe. Hit the bell and share to all your friends and write a comment below. Right, we're done. Thanks, Ben. I'll catch you in a few weeks.
Cheers, Dan.